Hey, what's up, everybody? And welcome to Mike Mondo's New York Sports. And I am your host, Mike Mondo. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Mets gear today. I'm wearing my new hat, looks pretty sharp. I'm wearing my old shirt, my old Pete shirt. We're going to talk about that in real quick. But I know we've been talking about Giants and everything like that, but today's the Major League Baseball trading deadline. And for all y'all out there that are Mets fans, like myself, today is a interesting day to say the least. It's an interesting day to say the least. So this video may be a little bit longer because I'm just going to kind of just touch base on a whole bunch of stuff, kind of tell you how I feel, talk about some of the trades that happened today, thoughts, reactions, but just basically how an old fart New York Mets fan feels right now today. We'll be back with the Giants, I'm sure tomorrow or the day after. But anyway, Giants key, Knicks champs. Today is the Mets trading deadline. So let's just kind of get into it and just kind of talk. You guys let me know what you think, how you feel, like, subscribe, put a comment in there. Do whatever you got to do because Mets fans, we're all in this together. And if you're here in this channel was created for the diehard Mets fan and the diehard Giants fan, the diehard Knicks fan, right? Young ones, old ones like me. And if you are my age, I can't disclose my age. It's top secret information. It really is. No, I just can't remember it. I don't even want to remember it. Anyway, if you're my age, you still bask in the glow of the 1986 World Champs, who they just celebrated this weekend at Citi Field. 40 years. 40 years. 40 years since we've won a World Series. Dag nabbit. 40 years. Jeez Louise, as a Rangers fan, I remember back in 1994, they were chanting 1940, and you're like, oh my gosh, they haven't won in 50 years. Well, I mean, we're on pace for that right now. I mean, the Knicks just won. That was 53 years. What the heck, guys? For all you miserable Giants fans out there that you're like, oh my gosh, the Giants stink. Dude, we got 2 Super Bowls with Eli, and then 2 Super Bowls with Bill Parcells, with LT and Phil Simms and that whole crew. So we got 4 Super Bowls, 4 Super Bowls since the Mets won their last World Series. 4 Super Bowls way, after the Knicks won their championship. So, but the Knicks they've checked that box, so they're all good and golden. So now we're going to talk about the Mets. So let's talk about the trading deadline. Dag nabbit. So lots of activity today. We knew that the Mets were going to be sellers. We knew we were going to try to move. We knew that we were going to try to replenish our farm system, which apparently stinks, And I mean, we're not winning. So let's trade some expiring contracts. Let's see what we can get, get in return. So I'm just going to kind of go down really quick what we did today so far. I'm not going to go into really too much detail. There's a bunch of other places that are going to break it down to who we got and the minor leaguer because I don't know anything about these minor leaguers. I'm a diehard Mets fan. But when you come to prospects and stuff like that, I mean, I barely know. You know about our prospects for the most part, but they're still prospects. They're still guys that are like trying to make it up to the big leagues. We don't know if they're even going to do anything. So let's just go into this real quick. But we knew that we were going to be selling, and we were going to try to get something in return. And David Stearns was going to try to work his magic. And I found if you guys are like me, I'm not a big David Stearns believer. I hope in a couple years the Mets have won a World Series, and we're like, man, you remember when David Stearns and that back in 2026, we wanted to run him out of town, but man, thank goodness we didn't because now we have a title. I don't feel like that's going to happen. It's not like I don't feel the same way about David Stearns and the Mets like I do about Leon Rose and the Knicks, right? And as far as the Giants go and Joe Shane, we'll talk about that another day. But either way, let's just go talk about this real quick. Let's go down some of the moves that the Mets made, and then we can talk about what we think about it. And then I want to talk about the off season that just passed with Pete and other, and so we'll talk about that. But either way, first one, Clay Holmes was traded along with Tyrone Taylor to the Chicago Cubs for minor leaguer Jefferson Rojas. And apparently Rojas is the highest ranked prospect that the Mets traded for, and he is number 63 in MLB's pipeline, right? I don't know who Jefferson Rojas is, but the fact that we were able to trade Clay Holmes, who's coming off an injury, and Tyrone Taylor, who is having a resurgent offensive year, and we got Jefferson Rojas, who may turn out to be a player. We'll see. Once again, with the minor leaguers, you don't know. Okay. I mean, ESPN gave it a grade of SNY, gave it a grade of B plus and everything like that. And then we're going to jump down to Luke Weaver, who Luke Weaver has been legit, and we had him for another year. And I think Luke Weaver was definitely one of the better relievers on the market. So he drew a lot of attention, and we got minor league shortstop. So Luke went to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we got Sammy Stafura. I may have said that wrong. I don't know. But we got Sammy Stafura. He was number 9 in the Pirates farm system. I don't know. Once again, prospect. Okay. If trading Luke Weaver now, like trading him now, since we had him, I from what I gather, I think we had him under control for next year. We had, and he was making $8 million this year, and I think $6 million next year. I mean, I'll take that money, every single day. But in baseball land, I mean, that's not a ton of dough, right? So we got rid of him. He was good. He was definitely I think our best reliever, and so he's gone. So I don't know how Sammy Stafura is going to be. I hope he's good. Maybe he will be. So we got rid of Luke Weaver. So I guess the point I was going to say is that if you're trading Luke Weaver and you had him under control for next year, you're kind of giving indications that 2027 is not going to be a competitive year. Because if it was, you'd keep Luke Weaver, right? He's not making a ton of money. And he's in the bullpen. Our pitching stinks. And we need bullpen and starters and everybody. Every single type of pitcher that you could need, we need. So we got rid of Luke Weaver, so we got another prospect there. And then I knew Freddie Peralta was going to go. I mean, it was the whole Freddie Peralta thing has been a disaster. I mean, he's basically had his worst year. So, he went to Tampa Bay, and we got 3 minor leaguers: Aiden Smith, outfielder, pitcher Gary Gilhill, which is a kind of cool name. Gary Gilhill. My name is Gary Gilhill. Say that fast 3 times. Gary Gilhill. Gary Gilhill. Gary Gilhill. I did it. And then an infielder, second baseman, Emmeline Petre. I think that is. I completely destroyed that name. So we traded him. We got 3 minor leaguers. We knew we needed to trade Freddie Peralta. It was just, he's a guy that you want on your team if you're contending, and wherever he fits in, 1, 2, 3, whatever. He had to go. We got to get something back for Freddie Peralta, and we did. What they're going to be like, And then next, we got rid of Brooks Raley. He went to the Phillies. For once again, 2 minor leaguers, outfielder John Spikerman. That's another cool name, John Spikerman. And another pitcher, Luke Gabrish. I think I pronounced that right. Man, what's up with these dudes and the names? But either way, so Brooks Raley gone. And then someone else who was pitching well for us and basically having his best year, although older, Huzakar Brazoban. He went to the White Sox for another 2 minor leaguers, pitcher Gabe Davis and another pitcher Zach Franklin. I don't know who these guys are. So once again, Brazoban, definitely a good asset. If you're a team that's on the cusp of winning, he's great. He's going to be 37, but once again, you're telling us that next year it's not happening. That's the indications that I'm getting from this. That all these guys are prospects, which is fine. We didn't get any major leaguers in return. And then AJ Minter went to the Twins for infielder Billy Amick, and another infielder, second baseman Bruin Agbayani. Ooh, Bruin Agbayani. Listen, he is. Oh, all right. So he is Benny Agbayani's son. So this is the worst trade that they said, but I'll take him. He was a 27th ranked Twins prospect, which means I don't know where he's ranked in MLB, but um, Bruin Agbayani. I'll take it. I mean, he's got some connection to the Mets because Benny was a Met and stuff like that. But that's about it. I mean, everyone is breaking down these the trades, and I'm sure um, we'll find out more about these prospects. But they're just prospects, like anything else. I think more so than almost any other sport. Definitely more than basketball. When you see kids in college, you kind of get an idea of what they're going to do in the pros. Same thing in football. You kind of have an idea of what they're going to do in the pros. And even in hockey, you kind of have an idea, maybe not as much as the first two, what they're going to do in the pros, but I think baseball is the biggest wild card when it comes to prospects because you have these kids that are like literally kids. They just got out of high school. They haven't gone to college. They went straight to the minors. Prospect. Some of these dudes have done 3-4 years in college, and they're in the farm system. Prospects. And then you have some guys that have been in the minors for a while. Prospects. You never know. But we're talking about prospects. All of these trades were to essentially trade expiring contracts. I don't know how much money we got off the books. Does it really make a difference? I'm looking at David Stearns' face. It makes me not happy right now. So we unloaded a bunch of the players that we really needed to unload, right? To get something in return. So we did that. Maybe you are the minor league prospect guru. And then if you can tell me, hey, listen, Mike, this guy, and this guy that we got back in these trades, I think is good. He's going to be solid. He might be up next year. Maybe he'll be up the year after. But I think that he's definitely a major leaguer. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear that these guys are going to be playing in the major leagues and being productive, being contributing factors to success. But you don't know. You just don't know. So that's that, right? What I wanted to talk about right now is the past off season, right? Because it was a flurry of moves in the beginning that we were really, really unhappy with, losing a lot of homegrown veterans. And then we brought guys in, and then they kind of sold you. They sold you the bill of goods. They convinced you, oh, look at this guy. He might be all right. Oh, this guy, he might be all right. And then we were like, all right. And then we got Freddie Peralta. We're like, all right, we're going to maybe we'll put it back together. Let's do this. Did not happen. Did not happen. We stink. Stink bad, like super bad, like horribly stink. I can't stand it. So I'm going to vent for a second. And I want to talk about because it's a trading deadline. So we're talking about players moving and stuff like that. I want to talk about 3 quick players that we got rid of in the offseason, and then 3 players we brought in. Okay? So stick with me for a second, and we'll talk about this. So we got rid of Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, and Jeff McNeil in the offseason, along with Edwin Diaz. But let's just talk about Pete, Brandon, and Jeff, right? Pete and Brandon, homegrown Mets fans. And maybe for some people that's not important. It's important to me. I love having a player that's homegrown. That's why we love David Wright. And we loved Darryl Strawberry and Doc Gooden, right? You love the guys that you have drafted and you have developed, and they come up to the major leagues and they produce, right? And Pete Alonso was a producer, is a producer, was a producer. Brandon Nimmo, if you're a Mets fan, find me a real legit Mets fan that doesn't like Brandon Nimmo, and I think you're crazy and you're not a real Mets fan. And you can put it in the comments. I don't like Brandon Nimmo because this, and this. And I'll be like, whatever. And then Jeff McNeil, who, for everything, squirrel, chipmunk, whatever, he was kind of like a hard-nosed kind of player. He was kind of like, he fit in good with the Mets, right? All those guys gone in the offseason, unceremoniously released or traded, right? To the chagrin of Mets fans. And you know what? Arguably, not even arguably so, legitimately, if you're a Mets fan, you had a legit reason to be upset. And I'm still upset. So let's go into this real quick because let's touch on 3 players that came in. When we ran those dudes out of town, we got Luis Roberts Jr., we got Marcus Semien, and we got Jorge Polanco. All right. So Pete Alonso, Brendan Nimmo, Jeff McNeil out, Luis Roberts Jr., Marcus Semien, and Jorge Polanco in. Let's sit on that for like just a second. I can't give too much dead air because I think probably YouTube and will kind of cut me off and stuff. But let's just for a second marinate on that. Those first 3, our guys gone. The next 3 come in, not our guys come in. And not even 1 for 1. If it was 3 for 3, if it was a package deal, would you have rather had Pete, Brandon, and Jeff, or Luis Roberts Jr., Marcus Semien, and Jorge Polanco? I take our guys, the first guys, Pete, Brandon, and Jeff. And if you don't agree, that's fine. I think you're wrong, but fine. So let me do this too, because baseball is all about stats, right? What do they say? The back of the card doesn't lie. So it's not like, you know what? Let's just go over this real quick, right? Let's start off with the guys that we brought in. All right. So we got Luis Roberts Jr., who came in with a history of injuries. When healthy, good. He came back this year when he came off the injury list and unleashed a bomb. So when healthy, and he hasn't proven that he has the ability to stay healthy. But we brought in Luis Roberts Jr. We brought in Marcus Semien, who is a all-star level, was an all-star, second baseman, shortstop, infielder, second baseman. But he's started. Let me just look real quick. Marcus Semien is not a young dude. He's 35. Okay. Luis Roberts Jr., 29. Young guy. I mean, I like him. He's a big dude. And then we bring in Jorge Polanco, who's 33. And he's kind of just a regular size guy. Right? Let's look at this. Jorge Polanco, who's been hurt, and this is nothing personal. Let me say this first. This is nothing personal against these guys. Because as far as I know, I like all these guys. They might be good guys. They may not be good guys. This is nothing personal. This is strictly business. Strictly business. But Jorge Polanco right now, and listen, injuries are part of the game. There's no excuses, man. He is batting $131. Jorge Polanco is batting 131. And he came in to play first base. Let's say this. When we got sold on this in the offseason, when Pete was run out of town, because that's what I'm saying. I think they gave Pete a tremendous amount of disrespect. I mean that. I'm not even being hyperbole. I don't know if it's the right word, but I'm not even being dramatic. I think they were really, really disrespectful to how they handled the Pete Alonso situation. Even if he was going, they could have handled it a lot better. David Stearns. So anyway, but Jorge Polanco was supposed to be the potential first baseman, right? I'm going to have a cracker on that one. So I apologize for eating. But Jorge Polanco was going to come in and play first base for us. And he never played first base before. I mean, maybe he did, but he's not a first baseman. But he was coming in to play first base, right? 131. 1 home run. 4 RBIs. One home run and 4 RBIs for Jorge Polanco. Need I say more? Let's move on. Marcus Semien, who I like, who has shown some pop in his bat. He's got 12 home runs, 35 RBIs for a second baseman. Okay. He's batting 212. No stick right now. And I mean, is he our long-term solution at second base? No. Is he going to be in here next year? I mean, maybe. I mean, we don't have anybody. We traded everybody away. So, but 212, 12 home runs, 35 RBIs, and then Luis Roberts Jr., who's a big dude and when healthy, he can do some damage. Luis Roberts Jr., center fielder. You got to get some power out of center field. You got to get power out of all the outfield positions, right? Or just some competent hitting. Luis Robert Jr. is batting 197. Under, is it the Mendoza line? Is that it? I forgot what it is. Whatever it is under 200, he's under it. 197, 4 home runs, and 12 RBIs. Yes, he's been hurt, like Polanco. Everyone's been hurt. Okay, other teams have players that get hurt. So those are the 3 guys that we brought in to replace Pete, Brandon, and Jeff. So let's start with Jeff. Jeff is batting. He's playing for the A's. He's playing second base. I mean, Jeff's 34. I like Jeff. He's like kind of a hard-nosed player. I mean, he kind of fits in. Batting 251 with 4 home runs and 34 RBIs. That's better than Polanco. That's better than Roberts Jr. And, I mean, slightly under. I mean, he's 4 and 34, and Marcus Semien is 12 and 35. Jeff is batting 251, and Semien is batting 212. So, can you say that's a wash? If it is, I'd rather have Jeff McNeil because he was our guy, right? So let's move on. Brandon Nimmo. So Jeff McNeil for Marcus Semien. I take Jeff. Brandon Nimmo, outfielder. So let's compare him to Luis Roberts Jr. Brandon right now, once again, I'm sure guys have gotten hurt. He's batting 270. He's got 11 home runs and 40 RBIs. Kind of sort of what you would expect from Brandon. He's 33. Love Brandon Nimmo. How can you not love Brandon Nimmo? So 270, 11, and 40. So let's compare him to the other outfielder, Luis Roberts Jr., who we essentially traded him for. 197, 412, 270, 11, 40. Brandon Nimmo. Every single day. Every single day, I will take Brandon Nimmo over Luis Roberts Jr., who is 4 years younger and not our guy. Brandon was our guy. He was homegrown from Wyoming. He's our guy. But this is the big one. Bombing with the Bear. My kids got me this shirt last year. And the Mets then did him dirty and let him walk, apparently without making any kind of offer. Maybe Pete made someone mad. Maybe he told David Stearns that he's an idiot. You decide. Anyway, let's look at these stats. Jorge Polanco, and I don't care what the Mets say, they were telling us that he was coming in to play first base. And you kind of knew that they were going to have a bunch of other guys out there first base to try to see if they could kind of grab the position, whether it was Vientos or Beatty, who I both like, who have not taken the next step. I love them. But they haven't taken the next step, and you throw a couple other guys out there at first base. But Polanco was going to be our first baseman, but he never played first base before. Oh, no big deal in the major leagues, right? Let me just say his stats again. Jorge Polanco is batting 131 with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. He's not even listed as the first baseman. He's the DH. Once again, Jorge, nothing personal. It's all business. And then Pete, who, if you're a Mets fan, you were watching what Pete was doing coming out of the beginning of the season, right? And he got off to a slow start, struggling. And then as that Mets fan who's like, man, well, you know what? Maybe it's good that the Mets didn't pay him. He's not playing that well. Maybe he already hit his peak, and I don't know. No. No. So Pete Alonso, who is a first baseman, who is the starting first baseman for the Baltimore Orioles, is batting 251. You want him to hit higher than that, right? And after a super slow start halfway through the season, he's got 23 home runs and 69 RBIs. So let's just kind of dial it back a little bit. So you'd figure, say Pete finishes off the season at, just say he's hit 250. Although I think he'll get up to like maybe 270-ish. But just say he stays around there. With 23 home runs now in the beginning of August, is it possible that Pete hits 40? Yeah, absolutely. He's Pete. He's Pete Alonso. He's a power hitter. Could he have 17 more home runs over the next 2 months? Absolutely. Not a stretch. 69 RBIs. So if he's got 69 now, does that mean that he could throw in maybe another 30 or 40? Yeah. Let's go light. Let's go 30. If he did 30, 31 right now, he'd have 100 RBIs. 40 is more realistic. So Pete could finish at 260 with 40 home runs and maybe 110 RBIs. Is it worth $50 million? But who's worth $50 million, right? But what Pete's doing right now with 251, 23, and 69 is more than Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, and Luis Roberts Jr. put together. Not even adding what Brandon and Jeff McNeil did. So, David Stearns blew it in the offseason. Not only blew it player personnel-wise, but Mets fan heart-wise. It's like when Darryl Strawberry left and went to the Dodgers. It just wasn't right. When Doc Gooden was playing for the Yankees, and then Darryl was too, just wasn't right. David Cohn, who wasn't our guy, but for a while he was our guy, and then he left, just wasn't right. The Mets have a habit of doing these things. It's not always their fault. We took care of David Wright, which thankfully we did. We let Mike leave. Mike Piazza should have never left the Mets, should have finished his career with the Mets, but we let him go too, right? Because you didn't want to pay Mike Piazza, one of the greatest of all time in Mets. Did the same thing with Keith Hernandez. All these guys wind up going. Very few wind up staying, which upsets me tremendously. Tremendously. So I just wanted to talk about that. We talked about a bunch of stuff. So trading deadline, we got rid of the guys we needed to get rid of, but we didn't get rid of Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, or Luis Roberts Jr., which I wish they would have went to. Give me something back for these guys. A bag of balls. Something. I mean, if we're going to run up a AAA team, the Marcus Semien one I could hold on to. Polanco and Roberts Jr., please. But if you're a Mets fan today, they're going to spin it every single way that they can. Hey, listen, we got rid of a lot of contracts and we got a lot of good prospects back. These are guys, we're building our farm system. Great. We need that. They're not playing this year. If they are, man, oh man, we're in trouble. We're already in trouble. Could they play next year? Maybe. What they do in spring training, who knows? We obviously need to be busy in the off season just to put out a competitive team. I'm all for building. But we've been building for 40 years. We have been building for 40 years. We blew it when we had Piazza and we got to the World Series. We should have won at least one. We blew it there. right? And then we had Jacob deGrom, and we had that team in 2015. We blew it there too. Had Batman. Speaking of Jacob deGrom, who's in Texas, who's having that like a numbers wise great year, but Jacob deGrom, when he signed with the Rangers, has a no trade clause. And then you heard rumors that the Braves want him, and you were like, oh gosh, that's like, one of my buddies was like, that's like Wheeler going to the Phillies. It's horrible. Could you imagine if Jacob deGrom, even if he's not like the old Jacob deGrom, was playing for the Braves? Man, kick me in the boop, really. So, as a Mets fan today, how do you feel? I'm kind of like indifferent. It's like the whole Kissins Cousins thing. We traded a bunch of guys that, did you really care? I mean, I think that if we were going to be competitive next year, then I would have kept a couple of those guys, like like a Luke Weaver and a Brosabon and stuff like that. I would have kept those dudes. But getting rid of all those guys makes me feel like you're telling me that we're not going to be competitive next year. Well, wait and see. See what we're going to do during the offseason. We're going to build a team. I said that last year, and not only did you not do it, but you also ripped the heart out of Mets fans in the process. David Stearns, Cohen, you signed the checks and everything like that. You're a Mets fan. Okay, you're the owner. Wonder Kid, David Stearns, right now, he stinks. He stinks. Milwaukee is one of the best teams in the league, and he ain't there anymore. So maybe all that success in Milwaukee wasn't because of David Stearns. Maybe it was. But right now, with an open checkbook, and he's supposed to be a diehard Mets fan, he's eviscerated the Mets. He's alienated the Mets fandom. And right now, do you have a lot of hope as a Mets fan? Do you have a lot of hope for next year? I mean, really, I'm cool with seeing the young guys play. I love seeing like our outfield with Ewing and Benj and Soto. I think our outfield is set. I mean, if these kids keep on going, then we got an outfield. But who's going to be our third baseman? Is Bo Bichette going to be there? I mean, who knows? We've got our shortstop. Is he going to be here? I don't know. I honestly would have thought that maybe he'd be available during the trade deadline, but he wasn't. Second base, first base, nothing. I like our catchers. Pitching, who knows? I love Nolan McLean, or maybe some of these other young cats. But all that being said, for all the movement, for the trading deadline deals, and everything that happened in the offseason, if you are a Mets fan, and maybe I'm just being a sourpuss, but I don't think that I am. I'm usually the glass is half full with my teams. Unrealistically, a lot of times. I'm a fan. I'm a diehard fan. That's what we do. And the Mets, gosh darn it, they disappoint me. I'm happy we moved contracts. And we'll see what happens. I wish Pete was still here. I wish Brandon was. I mean, if we're going to stink, I definitely wish Pete and Brando and Jeff were still here. But they're not. And so we're not going to know if these trades are good or not until next year or the year after or the year after or the year after. You're just moving pieces around. So, Mets fans, tell me what you think. Boy, oh boy, this is long-winded. I know it was a long one. I'm going to probably put something together in short, so maybe you can watch something a little bit more condensed. But really, honestly, guys, Mets fans, how do you feel? Because I'm not really particularly happy. Like I said, I'm happy we moved pieces. We got something back in return, but you don't know what it's going to be like. I'm hopeful. I am super duper hopeful that it's going to be good. And at the end of the day, I'm not really sure if it will be. So let's go Mets. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I'm going to say a prayer. I'm going to pray the rosary. And that's it. I am keeping hope alive. I'm going to try to stay positive. Let's go Mets. Let's see what happens, and tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe, and yay! Let's go, Mets. Mm. Let's go, Mets.